Sis. There is a moment in every woman's life when silence becomes louder than love, when staying feels heavier than leaving, when her soul whispers, sis, this is not who you are. Walking away is rarely loud. It does not always come with shouting, slammed doors, or dramatic goodbyes. Sometimes it arrives in silence, a quiet realization, a subtle shift in the heart. A moment when a woman understands that staying is costing her more than leaving ever could. People often mistake walking away for weakness. They think it means she gave up. They assume she could not endure. But endurance is not always strength. Sometimes endurance is fear wearing the mask of loyalty. Sometimes staying is not courage. It is attachment, insecurity, or the hope that someone will finally become who they promised to be. Awareness is different. Awareness is when she sees clearly. She sees the patterns, the repeated disappointments, the conversations that never change. The apologies that come without transformation. She sees how her energy is constantly being drained, how her boundaries are constantly being crossed. How her needs are constantly being minimized. And for the first time, she does not excuse it. She does not romanticize it. She does not blame herself for expecting better. Awareness removes illusion. Before awareness, she may have said, maybe I am asking for too much. After awareness, she understands she was asking for the bare minimum. Before awareness, she may have thought, if I try harder, love harder, give more, things will improve. After awareness, she realizes that over-giving only teaches others to under-give. Walking away, then, is not an emotional reaction. It is a conscious response. It is the result of reflection. It is the fruit of clarity. There is a deep strength required to walk away from what you once prayed for, to release someone you once imagined a future with, to let go of familiarity, even when it hurts. This is not weakness. This is maturity. Weakness clings because it is afraid of being alone. Awareness releases because it refuses to abandon itself. When a woman walks away in awareness, she is not trying to punish anyone. She is not trying to create drama. She is not trying to prove a point. She simply recognizes that peace is more valuable than attachment. She understands that love without respect is self-betrayal. She sees that loyalty without reciprocity becomes self-neglect. And she chooses differently. This choice is not easy. Her mind may still remember the good moments. Her heart may still feel the connection. Her habits may still long for the routine practices. But awareness does not disappear just because emotions are strong. In fact, true awareness shines brightest when emotions are loud. She learns to sit with discomfort rather than escape it. She learns to tolerate loneliness rather than tolerate disrespect. She learns that temporary pain is better than permanent compromise. There is power in that. When she walks away, she is saying, without speaking, I see what this is and I see what I deserve. She is choosing alignment over attachment, integrity over insecurity, truth over illusion. Walking away becomes an act of self-respect. It is the moment she stops negotiating her worth, the moment she stops convincing someone to treat her well. The moment she understands that if she has to beg for consistency, she is already settling. Awareness transforms her from reactive to intentional. She no longer reacts to fear of losing someone. She acts from clarity about losing herself. This shift is subtle but profound. It changes the way she carries herself. It changes the way she loves. It changes the standards she sets. She becomes less interested in being chosen and more committed to choosing wisely. And in that state, walking away is not a collapse. It is a rise. It is a woman standing in truth even when her voice shakes. It is a heart that refuses to betray itself again. It is strength expressed through stillness. Because the strongest thing a woman can sometimes do is quietly leave what no longer honors her. Not in anger, not in revenge, but in awareness. Self-loss does not happen in one dramatic moment. It does not announce itself. It does not knock loudly at the door. It enters quietly, through small compromises. Repeated over time. A woman rarely wakes up one day and decides to abandon herself. Instead, she slowly drifts away from who she is, one adjustment, one silence. One swallowed truth at a time. At first, it seems harmless. She laughs at jokes that make her uncomfortable. She agrees to plans she does not enjoy. She tolerates behavior she once said she never would. She tells herself it is love. She tells herself it is patience. She tells herself relationships require sacrifice, and they do. But sacrifice becomes dangerous when it is one-sided. When she is the only one bending. The only one adjusting. The only one shrinking. Self-loss begins when she starts prioritizing being accepted over being authentic. She notices that expressing her feelings leads to conflict, so she becomes quieter. She sees that asserting her boundaries creates distance, so she lowers them. She senses that her natural intensity is too much, so she softens her voice, dims her passion, reduces her presence. Not because she wants to, but because she wants to stay. This is how self-loss happens, not through force, but through fear. The fear of abandonment, the fear of rejection. The fear of being alone. She slowly replaces her true thoughts with what is easier to say. She replaces her real needs with what is convenient for others. She replaces her boldness with compliance. And each time she does this, a small part of her disconnects. It is subtle at first, almost invisible. She stops doing the hobbies she once loved because they are not appreciated. She distances herself from friends who remind her of her strength because they question her choices. She ignores her intuition because listening to it would require difficult decisions. And the more she ignores that inner voice, the quieter it becomes. Self-loss is not always painful in the beginning. Sometimes it feels like peace. The arguments decrease. The tension softens. Things feel stable. But beneath that surface stability is a growing emptiness. Because peace built on self-betrayal is not real peace. Over time, she feels tired, not physically, but emotionally. She feels disconnected from her own joy. She cannot remember the last time she laughed freely, without calculating how it would be perceived. She feels anxious about expressing simple needs. She overthinks everything she says. She analyzes how she is being seen rather than asking how she feels. This is the cost of shrinking. When a woman consistently gives, she teaches others that her energy is unlimited. When she constantly forgives without accountability, she teaches others that her boundaries are flexible. When she continually proves her worth, she unconsciously accepts the belief that her worth must be proven. And slowly, she forgets who she was before she started trying so hard. She forgets that she once had strong opinions. She forgets that she once had non-negotiables. She forgets that she once felt secure in her own skin. Now she feels uncertain, not because she is incapable, but because she has been living in misalignment for too long. The most painful part of self-loss is that it often goes unnoticed by everyone except her. From the outside, she may look fine. The relationship may appear intact. The routine may seem normal. But inside, she feels like a stranger to herself. She looks in the mirror and sees someone performing a role. The agreeable partner, the understanding one, the low-maintenance one. The one who doesn't ask for much, but she does ask for much. She asks for respect. She asks for consistency. She asks for emotional safety. She simply stopped voicing it. Self-loss is not weakness. It is misplaced devotion. It is love given without boundaries. It is loyalty given without reciprocity. It is hope stretched beyond reason. And the longer she remains in this state, the heavier it becomes. Because the soul resists suppression. The heart resists dishonesty. The body even begins to signal distress through anxiety, exhaustion, restlessness. Something inside her knows this not alignment, practices. And that quiet discomfort is the beginning of awakening. Silence is uncomfortable for most people. We fill it with noise, with conversations, with distractions, with endless scrolling, with constant connection. Silence forces us to face what we have been avoiding. It removes the escape routes. It removes the voices that tell us who we are supposed to be. And when a woman walks away, silence becomes her companion. At first, it feels heavy. There are no more late night messages, no more familiar routines, no more shared plans. The space that was once occupied by someone else now feels empty. And in that emptiness, her thoughts grow louder. She questions herself. Did I overact? Was I too sensitive? Did I give up too soon? Silence brings these questions to the surface. Without constant distraction, she cannot run from them. She must sit with them. And this is where transformation begins. Silence strips away external influence. When she is no longer surrounded by someone else's expectations, moods, or opinions, she begins to hear her own voice again. At first, it is faint. She has ignored it for so long. But slowly, as she resists the urge to fill the quiet with temporary comfort, that inner voice becomes clearer. She starts to notice her true feelings. Not the filtered version, not the rationalized version, the honest version. She admits that she was tired. She admits that she felt unseen. She admits that she was compromising more than she should have. In the presence of silence, there is no need to pretend. There is no one to convince. There is only truth. Silence is a mirror. It reflects back the patterns she tolerated. It shows her where she abandoned herself. It reveals her fears, of loneliness, of rejection, of starting over. And although this reflection can be painful, it is also liberating. Because what is seen clearly can finally be changed. In silence, she begins to observe instead of react. She watches how her mind tries to romanticize the past. She watches how her ego wants validation. She watches how her heart longs for familiarity. But instead of acting impulsively, she sits still. She breathes. She allows the emotions to rise and fall without chasing them. This stillness builds strength. She learns that discomfort does not destroy her. Loneliness does not break her. Uncertainty does not define her. The very things she feared begin to lose their power over her. Silence also reconnects her to forgotten parts of herself. She remembers the music she loves, the books that inspire her, the dreams she postponed. Without someone else constantly occupying her mental space, she has room to explore her own desires again. She may begin journaling, walking alone, praying, meditating, reflecting deeply. These are not acts of isolation, they are acts of integration. She is gathering the scattered pieces of herself and bringing them back together. In silence, she becomes aware of her intuition. That subtle inner knowing that once tried to warn her. That gentle discomfort she once ignored. Now she listens carefully. She starts to trust herself again. Each time she honors her own insight, her confidence strengthens. Silence teaches patience. There is no instant gratification. No immediate reassurance. Healing unfolds slowly. Some days feel peaceful. Other days feel heavy. But in both states, she remains present. She stops trying to escape her own emotions. She learns to sit with sadness without labeling it as weakness. She learns to experience joy without fearing it will disappear. Over time, the silence that once felt unbearable becomes sacred. It becomes the space where she rebuilds her identity. the space where she reconnects with her values. This is the space where she defines what she will and will not accept moving forward. Silence stops being empty. It becomes full of clarity, of awareness, of self-respect. This is. And in that quiet space, without applause, without validation, without distraction, she begins to understand who she truly is when no one else is influencing her. This is not the role she played, not the version shaped by expectation, but the woman beneath it all, listening, learning, becoming. Detachment is often misunderstood. People confuse it with coldness, with indifference, with the inability to love deeply. But true detachment is not the absence of love. It is the absence of attachment to what harms you. It is the quiet decision to stop gripping what is cutting your hands. When a woman begins to detach practices, it does not mean she never cared. In fact, it usually means she cared too much for too long. She invested, she hoped, she waited, she tried. And somewhere along the way, she realized that holding on was draining her more than letting go ever could. Attachment says, I need this to be okay. Practices. Detachment says, I will be okay, even without this. There is freedom in that shift. Attachment binds her emotional state to someone else's behavior. If they are attentive, she feels secure. If they withdraw, she feels anxious. If they praise her, she feels worthy. If they criticize her, she feels small. Her peace becomes dependent. Her stability becomes conditional. Detachment breaks that dependency. It does not remove feeling, it removes possession. She stops trying to control outcomes. She stops trying to force consistency from inconsistency. She stops trying to convince someone to see her value. Instead, she steps back. This stepping back is powerful because distance creates clarity. When she is no longer emotionally entangled in every word, every delay, every mood shift, she sees the situation as it truly is, without excuses, without fantasy, without projection. Detachment allows her to observe rather than absorb. Before detachment, she absorbs everything. The tone of voice, the lack of effort, the subtle disrespect. She internalizes it. She asks herself what she did wrong. She adjusts herself to fix problems she did not create. After detachment, she observes patterns without personalizing them. She recognizes that someone else's inconsistency is a reflection of them, not a measure of her worth. This awareness is liberating. Detachment also restores her energy. When she is no longer obsessing over texts, replaying conversations, or anticipating emotional shifts, her mind becomes quiet. That mental space that was once occupied by anxiety becomes available for growth. She begins to redirect her focus toward her health, toward her ambitions, toward her creativity, toward her inner peace. The energy she once spent trying to hold someone close is now invested in holding herself together. Detachment teaches emotional independence. She learns that she can feel sadness without collapsing. She can miss someone without reaching out impulsively. She can care without chasing. She can love without losing herself. This is strength. Because chasing often comes from fear of abandonment. Fear of being forgotten, fear of not being enough. Detachment dissolves that fear. It whispers, you are enough, even if someone walks away. When she detaches, she no longer negotiates her boundaries to avoid conflict. She no longer tolerates inconsistency to avoid loneliness. She no longer lowers her standards to maintain connection. She becomes selective, not bitter, not guarded, selective. She understands that not everyone deserves access to her vulnerability. Not everyone deserves her time. Not everyone deserves her emotional investment. And she stops handing those things out freely to those who have not earned them. There is also peace in surrender. Detachment means accepting that you cannot change someone who does not want to change. You cannot force depth from someone comfortable in superficiality. You cannot build stability with someone addicted to chaos. So she releases the need to fix. She releases the need to prove. She releases the need to wait. And in releasing, she gains power. Because when she is no longer emotionally chained to outcomes, she moves differently. She speaks differently. She loves differently. Her presence becomes grounded. Her reactions become measured. Her standards become firm. Detachment does not close her heart. It protects it. It ensures that her love is given from abundance, not desperation. That her kindness is offered from strength, not fear. That her loyalty is rooted in mutual respect, not self-sacrifice. And in that space of emotional freedom, she discovers something profound. She does not need to cling to feel secure. She only needs to stand firmly within herself. Choosing yourself sounds simple in words, but in reality, it is one of the most difficult decisions a woman can make. Because from a young age, she is often taught to accommodate, to nurture, to understand, to forgive. She is praised for being selfless, for being patient, for being supportive. And while these qualities are beautiful, they become dangerous when they are expressed without boundaries. For a long time, she may have believed that love meant putting herself last. That loyalty meant enduring everything. That commitment meant tolerating inconsistency. She may have thought that if she just loved harder, gave more, sacrificed more, she would finally be valued the way she desired. But choosing yourself interrupts that pattern. It is the moment she says, my needs matter too. Not in arrogance, not in selfishness, but in self-respect. Self-respect is quiet. It does not demand attention. It does not seek applause. It simply refuses to participate in its own mistreatment. When she begins to choose herself, she stops over-explaining her boundaries. She no longer feels guilty for saying no. She no longer feels obligated to accept behavior that makes her uncomfortable. She understands that protecting her peace is not cruelty, it is responsibility. There is discomfort in this shift. People who benefited from her lack of boundaries may accuse her of changing. They may say she has become distant. They may say she's selfish. But growth always looks selfish to those who are comfortable with your self-neglect. Choosing yourself requires emotional courage. It requires the strength to disappoint others in order to stop disappointing yourself. Before, she may have stayed in conversations that drained her. She may have accepted half effort because she feared having nothing at all. She may have tolerated disrespect because she hoped it would eventually transform into appreciation. Now, she recognizes that self-respect is not built through endurance of pain. It is built through alignment with values. When she chooses herself, she chooses honesty over harmony. If something bothers her, she speaks it calmly. If something violates her standards, she addresses it. If something repeatedly disrespects her, she distances herself. She no longer negotiates her worth. There is power in no longer begging to be chosen. When a woman stops chasing validation, she reclaims her dignity. She stops asking, "Am I enough for you?" and starts asking, "Are you aligned with me?" That shift changes everything. Her posture changes, her tone changes, her energy changes. She becomes less reactive and more intentional. Instead of anxiously waiting for reassurance, she reassures herself. Instead of seeking constant confirmation, she builds inner certainty. Choosing yourself also means investing in your growth. She pours energy into her goals. She strengthens her mind. She nourishes her body. She reconnects with her passions. She surrounds herself with people who respect her boundaries rather than challenge them. She stops settling for potential and starts valuing consistency. This does not make her cold. It makes her clear. Clarity is attractive. Clarity is stable. Clarity eliminates confusion because she is no longer sending mixed signals about what she will tolerate. When she chooses herself, she understands that love should add to her life, not consume it. It should inspire expansion, not demand contraction. It should feel safe, not uncertain. Self-respect becomes her foundation. And once self-respect is established, everything else must align with it. She would rather walk alone in dignity than stay connected in disrespect. She would rather wait for alignment than rush into attachment. She would rather experience temporary loneliness than permanent self-betrayal. This is not ego, it is maturity. Because a woman who chooses herself is not rejecting love. She is redefining it. She is declaring that her heart is valuable. Her time is valuable. Her energy is valuable. And access to those things is earned, not assumed. In choosing herself, she rebuilds her identity from the inside out. Not based on who approves of her, not based on who desires her, but based on who she knows herself to be. And that knowing becomes unshakable. Returning to yourself is not loud. It does not come with celebration. It does not arrive with applause. It happens quietly, in small moments that no one else sees. It is the gentle recognition that you no longer feel the need to abandon yourself to keep someone else. When she returns to herself, she does not become a new person. She becomes who she was before fear reshaped her. Before insecurity softened her voice. Before attachment convinced her to shrink. The ultimate victory is not in proving someone wrong. It is not in making them regret losing her. It is not in appearing stronger on the outside. The real victory is internal. It is waking up one day and realizing that your peace no longer depends on someone else's presence. Returning to yourself means reclaiming your center. For a long time, her emotional world may have revolved around another person's moods, responses, and decisions. If they were distant, she felt unsettled. If they were warm, she felt relieved. Her stability was external. Now her stability is internal. She wakes up and checks in with her own feelings first. She asks herself what she needs. She honors her limits. She no longer ignores exhaustion just to appear agreeable. She no longer suppresses discomfort just to avoid conflict. She trusts her intuition again. That quiet inner voice that once whispered warnings is now clear and steady. When something feels misaligned, she does not argue with herself. She listens. When something feels right, she allows herself to receive it without suspicion. Trusting herself becomes her superpower. Returning to yourself also means accepting your imperfections without shame. She no longer criticizes herself for staying too long or loving too deeply. She understands that every experience taught her something. Instead of judging her past, she integrates it. There is compassion in this stage. She forgives herself for the times she settled. She forgives herself for the red flags she ignored. She forgives herself for confusing intensity with intimacy. And in that forgiveness, she releases guilt. Without guilt weighing her down, she stands lighter. Her boundaries are no longer reactions to pain. They are reflections of clarity. She does not build walls out of fear. She builds standards out of wisdom. She does not avoid connection. She simply refuses misalignment. Her energy changes. There is calm in her presence. Not because life is perfect, but because she is anchored. She does not chase. She does not beg. She does not over-explain. She communicates directly and walks away if necessary. This is the ultimate victory, emotional sovereignty. Practices. She owns her reactions. She owns her decisions. She owns her worth. She understands that losing someone does not mean losing herself. In fact, sometimes losing someone is the very thing that returns her to herself. She no longer seeks completion in another person. She understands that she was whole before anyone arrived. Relationships become additions, not foundations. Companionship becomes a choice, not a necessity. This shift radiates outward. She attracts differently because she chooses differently. She tolerates less because she values more. She speaks with conviction because she has faced silence. She loves with depth because she has known loss. Returning to yourself is not about becoming hard. It is about becoming grounded. She is still soft. She is still kind. She is still capable of love. But her softness is no longer fragile. Her kindness is no longer nervy. Her love is no longer desperate. She walks through life with alignment between her heart and her actions. What she feels, she expresses. What she believes, she honors. What she desires, she pursues without apology. And in this alignment, there is quiet power. She does not need to announce her growth. It is visible in the way she carries herself, in the way she no longer tolerates confusion. In the way she values peace over attention. The ultimate victory is this: she is no longer searching for herself in other people's hands. She has returned home. Within. And so, when we say she walked away and found herself, we are not speaking about escape. We are speaking about awakening. She did not walk away because she stopped loving. She walked away because she started understanding. She understood that love without respect weakens the spirit. That loyalty without reciprocity exhausts the heart. That staying where you are not valued slowly erases your identity. Walking away was never the loss. Losing herself was the real loss. And the moment she chose to leave what diminished her, she chose to reclaim what mattered most: her voice, her standards, her peace, her truth. She faced silence and did not run. She faced loneliness and did not collapse. She faced herself and did not look away. That is courage. Not the kind that shouts, but the kind that stands still in the storm and says, I deserve better than this. She learned that self-respect is stronger than attachment, that clarity is more powerful than chemistry, that inner peace is worth more than temporary passion. And in choosing herself, she did not become harder, she became whole. Now, she walks differently, not seeking validation, not chasing reassurance. Not shrinking to be accepted. She walks with awareness. She walks with boundaries. She walks with calm strength. Because she understands something now that she once forgot. The most important relationship she will ever have is the one she has with herself. And when that relationship is strong, no loss can break her. No rejection can define her. No ending can destroy her. She walked away. And in doing so, she did not lose love. She found alignment. She found dignity. She found freedom. She found herself.